Good morning, George. Last Sunday afternoon, you addressed the GROW team. They don't care what I say, they want to hear what you say.
Yeah, they want to hear you better, though.
Okay. You addressed the GROW team and talked to us about church growth. Let me ask you a few questions about that conversation. The first being, what is different in your 25 years of experience in church growth, especially with the college-age demographic?
Well, so thank you for asking, Dennis. One thing that's different is this is the first time in 25 years I've been on this end of the interview,
I like that.
which is kind of interesting. Let's see how it goes, right? So yes, we were talking about how we welcome new people to our church, and we got to talking about how it's changed over time. And among those differences, churches used to be a lot more alike than they are today. So 25 years ago, there were a lot more churches that were sort of like franchises of the same, Southern Baptist, say, or whatever. And so you go to one to the other, and they all sang hymns, say. Now, we sing hymns, and we're like a novelty church. It's a fascinating thing. Well, another thing that's happened, though, is that kids would grow up in church, they go off to college and not go to church anymore. That hasn't changed. But actually, they'd go a little bit, but they wouldn't join usually or get involved, but they would go to the Baptist campus ministry, say, and get involved there. And then they'd come back, and the only choice would to come back to a church like this, and they'd get involved and that sort of thing. And a lot of them would meet their spouses, like half the choir probably, that way in church. But now, on most campuses, there's sort of a church-like structure, and they get involved in peer worship, and that's pretty much their church. And it's like a Monday night or Tuesday night thing, and that's kind of church to them. Well, when they come back, a lot of churches now have sprung up that have sort of decided to continue that tradition. And so those churches are like around, and students come back, and they just sort of have been socialized to continue peer worship. And this concept of coming back to an intergenerational church, well, that sort of gets postponed longer. Maybe eventually, when they get married or have kids or whatever, or if they're extremely thoughtful and know what kind of church they want. Some of you, thank you for coming in those years and being part of us. But that's been a big change. And so we have to sort of be aware of what's happened in the church world.
About how many members do we have to add each year just to stay even? And what's changed over 25 years in that situation?
Well, not too much has changed in that respect, because every church has attrition due to death and transfers and moving and people getting mad at the pastor, stuff like that happen, So, but what happens is you have to, like in a church like ours, we have to have about 100 new members a year to stay even, just in terms of the regular membership of the church. But it's not just membership, it's also participation. So 25 years ago, it took a lot fewer people to have the same level of participation than it takes today. So it takes probably somewhere between 30 and 50% more active people in the church to have the same number of people weekly. Because of, I could tell you a lot about that, but just generally, you get the idea. Okay.
The final question has to do with what do you think Wilshire does well in the area of church growth, and what should we do to attract new members?
Well, look, first of all, the whole thing is not that Wilshire be the biggest church in town or everything be about Wilshire. It's not just like that, but how do we maintain across time a really vital congregation that is doing the work of God in the world and making bearing witness in the right sort of way? And we think that we've done a lot of things to help over this last generation to make our identity clearer so that we are distinguished and people would know who we are, what we stand for. We've made the church more open to welcoming different kinds of people, and we're more passionate about the transformation of life in the community for others, not just ourselves. So I think we've done a lot of things right in that respect. But at the end of the day, the big idea about new people coming to join us is really not a new idea. It's an old idea, and it's a small idea, and it's inviting people to come. If you think about it, when is the last time you invited somebody to come to church? When is the last time you had a conversation with someone in which you said, "When do you go to church?" and then just follow that up. Normally, you should be listening to changes in their life, conversation, what's happening at moments when things have gone awry or when there's been, a divorce or they've moved here or something has shifted in their lives and there's a greater sense of openness to them and a need for direction. Those kind of questions then lead to inviting them to come and not just saying, by the way, we're on Abrams, hope you'll come sometime, but I'll meet you in the narthex, I'll pick you up, there's a Sunday school class, I'd like you to meet some people, and begin that process. I mean, think about it, if everyone did that each year, the church would keep doubling before you knew it. But we sort of apparently like to keep Wilshire a great secret and sort of enjoy who we are, and if people want to come, they can come, but part of our witness is this kind of intentionality, and so I think that's the biggest key of all is our personal conversations with people.
Very good. Georgia, thank you for your thoughtful answers.
Good.
Thank you for giving us all some homework that we can do to get to grow the church. If any of you are interested in the Grow team, we are continuing to work for this for the next 7 years, 6 more years now, I guess, to 2020. If you're interested, contact Tiffany Wright, Rhett Mason, Kenton Keller, or myself. Thank you, George.
Thanks, Dennis.